variety of amazing guests. We visit the past. We ponder our future as we exist in the here and now. At This Moment with Angela Black, Thursday evenings, Studio B on Revolution Radio.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome one and all to I Am Nature, and I am Brian Porter, your host, and I usually say hello first to my producer, Angela Black. How you doing, Angela?
I'm doing well, Brian, and yourself?
Oh, I'm so excited today. I've got this amazing guy, Tim Butts, coming on, but before we get to Tim and all his amazing advice and accomplishments, I wanted to find out who's on your show tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night I have the one, the only W is going to be on my show. So we're going to be talking about financial stuff. You know, he's a friend of V. You know,
yes.
I don't know what I should go by. If I should go by like A or like B or like AB, but anyway, it's W tomorrow night. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. I have not had the chance to have any type of a lengthy discussion with W, so it should be very informative. I know he's got some hot breaking news on all kinds of financial stuff. So,
well, yeah, he's kind of the flip side of V, eh? They've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, do you know V and W, the economist?
I have not met him yet. No, that's a new name for me. I'm usually
Okay.
stuck someplace in agriculture, but go ahead.
Wow, what a
Good for
voice.
you. We need people to be stuck in agriculture. That's for sure. Okay, here we have our guest today, Tim Butts. He's owner of Timponic Produce Management Solutions. And he is here today to discuss, I think, is probably one of the most important things that we can do right now for the planet, and that's more and more greenhouse development, more efficient ways of growing food, organic food, real organic food. So, Tim, let's start with your background and what brought you to this point in your life where you're creating these amazing greenhouses all over the planet.
Okay, Brian, I want to thank you so much for giving me this time this evening. It's not very often that I get a chance to speak to somebody like you with your experience and your passion for life and what you're doing and all the individuals you're connecting. Had some great emails back and forth with some contacts that you gave me recently, and I want to thank you for that. And we're going to be going forward with that. Pretty awesome. We'll talk about that later. We may even have a call from a gentleman that's going to get back to us later, someone you know. But my journey started many years ago. We realize that within our bodies, I used to be a bodybuilder. I've always been very energetic. I've been strong. I grew up in a family that was strong, but my dad died of an alcohol poisoning when I was just a young man, and that hit me really hard. So I realized that I was not going to be that guy that died from a heart disease because of alcohol or other diseases that my other uncles died from alcohol. So I became obsessed with life and living. And I did that through a very strict workout regimen, lifting heavy weights, doing heavy work in construction, and just tearing up life. Looking at trying to find the ultimate diet, what led me on this path I'm on right now as a health minister. About 15 years ago, I actually found a way that you could have ultimate health by eating organic, raw, and basically a veganic diet. And I did that through a raw food regimen and with just 15% cooked. But I did it a slow process because there's all these people out saying, oh my God, I could never be vegetarian. Oh my God, I could never be vegan. You know, that's just a word, you know, that some people in a higher echelon kind of take hold of and they grab. But I got to tell you, the slow process, I was eating meat twice a day. I was just chugging down soda and soft drinks and just pounding them down. I was 225 pounds, lifting over 500 pounds, benching over 500 pounds at the time. I was just one strong dude, and it was all on food. No steroids, nothing. I was just power of the mind, power of my body, and tearing it up.
Wow, Jim,
Well,
that's quite impressive. I mean, that's anybody who doesn't know much about bench pressing. You're up with the NFL guys that are doing that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely. And I had a whole following at the gym. People who followed me around to be more like me because they wanted, you know, what I had. They could see what I had done. Well, I realized that as a leader and as a teacher, as a trainer, if you go out and do it, you can tell others you can come along too, because they can see, okay, you know, he is not just something that's off of Mount Everest, you know, that is, you know, walking in the clouds, but this is somebody who's real. I can touch him. I can feel him. I have a conversation with him. I can watch what he's drinking. And what I do right now, I'm on a raw diet until dinner each night. I drink all my nutrition all the way through. And I'm on a strong work ethic. I don't have to take breaks or lunches. I work straight through. I can start at 4:30 in the morning and stop at 5 if I need to. And then around dinner time someplace, I'll do something cooked, but it's usually always vegetarian. And most of the time it's vegan. And it's, you know, a portion of that is even raw at dinner time. So 15% of my food, my nutrition comes from a cooked source. I don't need that. I've got the most balanced diet that you can ever imagine. And there's a website that I'll refer you to that's real easy, and I've got it up here, that I basically got all my information from. And it's www.myhdiet.com. Now, that hdiet.com is the Hallelujah Diet. And I became associated with them about 15 years ago, became a health minister through the organization, taught many classes, did many other projects, you know, with people who are actually very sick, disease people, critical ill. We're talking heart disease. We're talking cancer. We're talking sugar, you know, diabetics and all kinds of problems these people are going through. And through the right diet, ultimate healing, new life, a foundation of health, a foundation of sunshine and good air and fresh water and family and good food, and everything inside their bodies is resonating now because they've got a pH that's just like our plants. Now, did I say that? I certainly did, because people look at, you know, they say, why should I eat fruits and vegetables? Guess what? When you eat fruits and vegetables, it leaves a pH ash, ASH. It's a pH ash in your system after your body burns all the calories from it. And that pH ash gives you a nice system that is completely balanced. Cancer cannot grow in a system that has a perfect pH. Cancer grows in a system that is acidic. Guess where you get an acidic system? From all your processed foods, from all your cooked foods. If it's boxed or canned, or if it's not raw in its raw state, that's something you can eat, you're pretty much guaranteed an acid ash. Enough acid in your system, the cancer grabs hold of it and says, guess what? This is a free ride. They're supplying with everything I need. Then you get to go to the doctor and they can actually, you know, treat you with a chemotherapy that removes every cell in your body. And now you're void and you got to build over through that mydiet.com, through that Hallelujah Diet.
Can you say that again, Jim? Can you just say that slowly again, the website?
Oh, it's myhdiet.com.
H as in horse?
As in horse, yes.
Okay.
myhdiet.com. And that's called the Hallelujah Diet. If anybody can spell hallelujah, you can Google it. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So, now, can you give me an example of what would be in one of your like vegan raw like juice drinks?
Okay, this is perfect. Thank you. I've got this little piece of equipment called a Vitamix. Awesome blender. Runs 2,800 RPMs. It will boil your raw fruit if you leave it in there long enough. The friction from that blade. It takes grape seeds and makes it. You know, you can drink the grape seed juice from grape seeds. That's pretty small. So, but in that Vitamix, I will take as much organic produce as I possibly can. And this is produce. This is good fruit that I'll put in there, whole fruit. And for our mainstay, you need to drink your vegetables and eat your fruit. But I drink my fruit, but it's whole fruit. So I'm drinking it, but I'm actually masticating it when I'm drinking it because it's in a large 64-ounce blender. But I will put in fresh grapes and pineapple, apples and oranges and bananas, any stone fruit that's in season, kiwis, mangoes, all kinds of papayas, all the good stuff that you want to put in there. Just you peel everything, you core it, whatever you would just normally eat, you put that in this blender. Then I add in my raw protein that I add into it, my raw protein, and I've got this raw protein now that actually has some raw chocolate in it, and it really tastes good. I'm at 15 years of going through this. I'm at the really good taste. It's got to taste good before I'll do much changes with it. Then I throw in my Udo's oil. Now, Udo's oil is a 369 oil. It's critical for those who are vegetarian and even those people that are vegan. But this 369 oil has omega fatty acids in it. It's made with organic flax, sesame, and sunflower seed oils. Really good stuff because it gives you that nice skin. It gives you that good shine to your hair. And it helps the fruit digest slower in your system. So think about this, guys and gals. You can be drinking this drink, 64 ounces. I start at 10 o'clock in the morning. I finish about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I slowly drink it during the day, and it's got enough, energy and enough strength and enough food is inside of this protein drink that I'm drinking of fruit that it slowly assimilates in my body. My sugar levels are 97. I went to Kaiser and had all the tests run on me, and my sugar levels 12 years ago were 96. 12 years ago. Then 6 years later, I'm at 97. That's my sugar level. It maintains there constantly because my body sugar is where it needs to be, gives me the energy to burn the calories I need to. But that is the one drink that I do during the day that gives me all of the energy to make it through the day. And that's combined with in the morning, my 16 ounces of carrot, kale, spinach, beet greens, and celery drink that I drink my vegetables. And because I do that first thing in the morning. I start my day with vegetables. At midday is fruit, and the end of the day is a little bit of cooked with some more vegetables.
Wow. And you've been doing this for 15 years. You're not still bench pressing 500?
Oh, no, I don't bench press 500 because, Brian, I got to tell you, you know what happens is when you end up bench pressing 500, they don't tell you, the side effects of it. I wore off my collarbones on each side of my shoulders from benching so heavy with that muscle going across the bone that I've got this, I can't lift heavy anymore for bench because I actually wore off the bone where that muscle sits on there. So, really weird stuff happens. I can bench now, and I bench all the time, but I do a full body bench. I do a whole body bench. I'm doing more core. But I've got an exercise that I do 4 or 5 times a week, this exercise program. It's on a mini trampoline with dumbbells. And so I'm lifting dumbbells on this mini trampoline, and then I do push-ups, and I do some bench on a big round, those going to be red balls. That's the exercise ball that you basically can do exercises on. But I do a low impact, it's a high aerobic, low impact exercise that I do that is really, really hour and a half of it, but it's fun. I enjoy it so much. There's times when I get through the exercise and I'm thinking about other things, and I don't even know I've done the exercises. They're so pleasant.
Wow, beautiful. That sounds so cool. Well, this is great. I mean, and are you using, I always also believe that you got to use good sources of nutrients. Are you growing your own food? Are you using your own food that comes from these amazing greenhouses?
Brian, it's interesting. The old adage is, the shoemaker doesn't have any shoes for his kids. The carpenter doesn't have a house to live in. And the, organic greenhouse farmer doesn't have a place that he can put his greenhouses because he's too busy building for everybody else. Literally, when you're out there building for everybody else, it's crazy because I'm gone a lot of the time. I'm here, I'm there, consulting with a lot of big projects that we're working on right now. I'm getting ready to make those expand nationally and internationally. which are very time consuming. And it's just, when I get stuck in those projects, I really am. But I've got a local co-op here in the Sacramento area in California that has some really good produce. And there's some other local stores that have some good produce. And so I shop there. And I go into Costco and they've got organic produce. And the other day I was in there and a gentleman stopped me and said, "My God, you got the healthiest cart I've ever seen ever come through this store." And I just laughed at him because I find everything that's good in the store, and that's the stuff I buy.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of shopping at Costco too. I find that they're getting more and more organic stuff in, and I'm glad to hear that it's real organic. It's not some phony organic, which I have concerns about. That's why I recommend that people grow at least some of their own food, because it's always best to have your own, and then you're sure it's real organic.
Exactly, and I've got some gardens that I'm currently in the process of putting together here on my ranch. I just changed my water system though, and that's why I was waiting to do the planting, because I just installed this incredible structured water unit that I'm using now. And I've got well water out of my ranch, and at the bottom of my well, about 280 feet down, I've got a 6-inch magnetic piece of pipe on there. It's 6 inches long. It's a big 2-inch by 6-inch magnetic pipe, and it actually takes all the water through and restructures the molecule at 280 feet down where the water first enters up. But there's this really awesome website, and it's called crystalblueent.com. Crystal Blue Enterprises. So it's crystalblueent.com. And that really neat website has some extraordinary equipment on there. In fact, I'm using right now. And with that extraordinary equipment, I plumbed it into my water line coming into my home. And right now, I have replaced what I would have a water softener with this one inline piece of equipment. And it's got a magnetic rock that's wrapped around these crystal marbles that have been tuned to a certain frequency that's all in a stainless steel enclosure. So your water hits that, it goes through these marbles that are tuned to a certain frequency, it breaks the molecules up, it takes all of and what's interesting is the charge that it gives the water, it's so cool, it causes the positives to attract to each other. And normally you'd ask somebody to say, negative and positive attract, but this time the positives attract to each other because it's all positive charge that's on this magnet. And it's incredible how it breaks the water, distributes it, and it turns it into just really small particles. It takes the scaling out of your pipes, removes your water softener. You can use less soap when you take a shower. You can use less soap in your dishes, less soap in your laundry. And
it's wetter water.
It's wetter. Say that 10 times really fast. Wetter water. No, it's wetter water, but it tastes better. It flows better. It feels better on your skin, and it allows you to grow 40 to 70% more in your fields and your crops, better yields than you've ever had before. Pretty cool when you can just plug in a unit that just restructures your water to the point where now all of your plants can take up to 100% more nutrition because you have broken down the nutrients in the soil, in that whole soil substrate, into that whole, bountiful life of soil. You've broken it down to the point where now the plant can absorb so much more and it can go up into the plant. In fact, even through a foliar spray, using this water in a foliar additive at the right time when the plants open the stomata on the back of the leaves, and now they're sitting there ready first thing in the morning when the birds sing. And everybody wonders, why do the birds sing a half hour before the sun comes up? I mean, it's a great question. Why do all the birds sing a half hour before the sun comes up? They're waking the plants up. They're there to wake the plants up to say, hey, guess what? Another day started. Photosynthesis is on its way. Stand up, look beautiful, because you're about to have your picture taken by the sun. And so the plants do that. They open up and they're ready, and they open their arms up literally to praise into heaven that there's got another day. And that's when you use the foliar additives with the structured water, and the plants just suck up. They can get as much nutrition through their leaves and through the foliar method as they can through the root zone.
Wow.
I'm just fascinated right now.
So you use this water system not just for drinking, but for your greenhouses.
Oh, definitely. It is total an ag unit. It is so coupled with ag, it's crazy. So these guys at Crystal Blue, there's this guy named Jeffrey on there, and oh my God, he is a crazy, crazy scientist. I just love him. They sent me out a unit that's 1.5 inches, and I'm going to install that on one of my, I've got a laboratory that I'm doing an indoor grow, and I'm going to install that on it next week. I just installed the 2-inch unit on my ranch a couple days ago. Great big 2-inch unit, and this thing's heavy. It weighs like 40 pounds. You can barely pick it up with one hand. I mean, it's a big unit. He sends me out an 8-inch unit. This 8-inch unit, I'm telling you, Brian, this thing is so big. It is big. It's 8 inches across. It is huge. I don't know if I can pick it up. I mean, I'm gonna have to get my man lift over here and my wheelbarrow and see if I can lift this thing up. It is so blooming big, and that's what I'm going to use in the. See, I work with a home and garden store, a big one, a big mega store, home and garden store, and we're going to be putting the structured water unit in there and start selling it to the customers in there because they're interested in being the top grower and how they can grow. Working with that. And that coupled with the LED lights I've got this incredible selection of these 2 LED lights that I'm the rep for North America. And I brought them in. And both of them are come from China, 2 different LED companies. We've got one light that's 250 watts that replaces a 1,000-watt HPS. So it's pretty cool. You got a 250-watt light that replaces a 1,000-watt HPS. It just doesn't have the same footprint. But in
HPF? HPF, what's that mean?
HPS. It's high-pressure sodium.
Oh, okay.
So this 250
Jim, can I just suggest, get a little closer to your mic? You're getting a little echoey. You moved away from your mic a bit.
Okay, there we go.
You were
How's
fine.
that?
Don't worry. You were just
That's
fine.
good. No, I like perfect sound, Angela. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're not far from perfect sound right now. Just FYI, Tim.
It's perfect. All right.
Okay, well.
Whatever you say.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to move the mic just a little closer there and talk right into it.
You just, I don't know, you probably started reading something or whatever and you sort of moved away a bit. But yeah. So let's keep going on this big water system.
Okay, actually what it was I was moving my hands so fast. I talk with my hands and you're getting the wind from my hands. I was actually causing a breeze. So, no, but with these water systems and with these LED systems you got this incredible grow lights. I'm doing indoor tests right now. Phenomenal growth on these plants. They're loving the full spectrum on these lights, and it's no heat. So that's the part that's way cool. HPS are very hot, high pressure sodium, give off a lot of heat. It means a lot of air conditioning when you're doing your indoor grows. These lights, very little heat. They have a good 3x3 footprint. They give a full spectrum. The plants love it. Darker greens, vibrant blues, and just all their colors are just deeper and darker and with everything they're doing. So it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful plants that come out of this. But I've also got this LED light that's it's basically about 13 inches by about 17, 18 inches long. And it's a 700-watt LED light. And we use that to get the plants to flower and to all the way out from our tomatoes to our cucumbers, any indoor growing we're doing, even if you're going to grow your medicine. We support a whole bunch of growers that are growing their own medicine, and it does those plants beautiful indoors without the heat, without the problems with it. And we found out that we don't have any spider mites on our indoor medicine when you're using these 700-watt LED lights. For some reason, the spider mites don't like the 700-watt LED lights. And we're doing those tests right now, but it's coming out pretty cool.
So when you say indoor medicine, what, is that a specific kind of plant?
Oh, yeah, it depends on if it's your sativa, your indica. So, yeah, it's very specific. It depends on, mostly the time we're growing more indica because it's indoor growing plant. And I'm talking about cannabis, boys and girls. If you didn't,
that's what I thought.
Okay, exactly. Well, I hit it right on the head.
Can't put one past you, Brian.
Yeah, I didn't prep you with that, Brian. So I was just going to lead into it. But we're doing some really good. In fact, I built a structure that's just a lab that is just for testing that right now with the LED lights. And we're doing our water structures there, and we're doing some cool things on that system, which makes it really good. But when we talk about the medicine, I got into this being a health minister, and people, I've been called a minister of health by some organizations I work with. I'm not the minister of health, okay? I am a health minister. There's a big difference there. But as a health minister, I'm a non-paid position. I don't have a PhD in anything. I'm not there. I've not done that schooling, that work. All I've done is real hands-on in the trenches healing people. Okay, so that's the difference between me and the person that you pay all your money to and you get into an HMO and they send you to a real drug dealer, which is the guys that sit at the pharmaceutical and hand out bottles and bottles and bottles to you of everything that's going to take and send all your pharmaceuticals through you. And you guess what? Now your pharmaceuticals are in our water. Our fish are on drugs because they can't filter out those pharmaceuticals in our wastewater, and it goes out into the streams and goes out to the oceans and the rivers and lakes, and they've got record high levels of pharmaceuticals in the water that all the fish are partaking of. And
it's just there's
really
so
bad.
many people on them now. This is the problem. There's so many people on them. Of course, that we all have to relieve ourselves. So it goes into the urine. It goes through the urine into the waste system and then right in the water. And that's the problem.
Oh, it's serious problem. Serious.
So you're saying
Really.
that the structured water will alleviate that?
The structured water is not a filter. Thank you for bringing that up, Angela. That was a very good question.
Thanks.
It's not a filter. It structures the water. It tears apart the molecules, restructures them into a point where they're very small. It gives you more surface area for everything to have contact with it, for your pipes to have contact, for your body, for your system, all the water through your system. It can go through your cell structure so much better. So that's what the structured water does. You still need to have a carbon block filter or some type of filter in your system to remove all the nasty stuff that's in your water.
I see.
I've used well water. I'm out on a big aquifer, and that's where my water comes from. But filters are really good. And then I have a funnel that I use all the time. Even when I'm traveling, I take this with me. It's a little stainless steel funnel that is a magnetic funnel. And I'm going to pour some of the water here. And I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going to pour this water. There's a little noise there of the water, but I'm pouring this water in through this funnel. And what this funnel does is it takes the water and turbulates it somewhat. It turbulates it, and then it goes through the magnetic flow. And by going through that magnetic flow, I get an instant time right there where I can actually structure that water as it's right before it goes into my mouth as I take a drink right now. So I just took a drink of structured water that was just structured through this little stainless steel funnel that I've got. And so I find myself drinking less water because I'm hydrated more because the cells are getting what they need. I'm not bloating myself with all the water because my cells can't absorb it because it's not in the form that they can take into themselves readily because it's too large. So that's, the structured water part of it. But when we go back to, why I am where I'm at and, what I've done and the emphasis of what's driven me to have this superfood and to go where, other people haven't gone, at this point. I think we've got about 3 minutes to the break. Do we have a 3:30 break?
Oh, we've probably got like a minute.
About a minute to the break? Okay. So what I'm going to lead into is about my daughter, Carice. And I'll talk to you about Carice when we come back, and I will tell you what really made me get into this.
Let's say that, Tim, because I just want to let people know that my guest from last week, Jim Gale, is kind of coming on the conversation after the break.
Okay.
That'd
Good
be
deal.
Great. I guess you met Jim through through Skype.
Yes.
And are you guys going to talk about something you're going to work together on?
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good news, folks. Okay, so we'll be back in a few minutes, folks, and thanks for joining us. I Am Nature. Welcome back to I Am Nature. Brian Porter, your host, is here, and we have another special guest who just dropped in for a bit. His name is Jim Gale, and he was on my show last week. His specialty is eco-village development, and I don't know, they have some news to break on my show. I'm very excited. What's up, guys?
And welcome back, Tim, as well.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back, Tim.
Well, thanks a ton, Brian, Angela, and Tim. It was great chatting with you last week. I'm really excited. Your model, your greenhouses fit so well. In fact, that's what we've been looking for, is somebody to help us with the growing piece, because we've got the storing piece nailed.
Well, Brian, I got to tell you, this is so cool.
If I may interrupt, I'm sorry. There's an echo coming from Jim's speakers. So I don't know if you have a headset, Jim, or if you can just turn your speakers down.
Okay, I'll back up. Is that a little better?
No, it's actually the speakers.
It's the speakers.
I'm using the same system. Well, okay, how's that? I unplugged my GoPro.
Let's see. Testing.
Is that...
No, it's coming. It's a delayed echo. Let's see. Yeah.
I'll turn my mic off and then listen in and see if we can.
You're good. You're good now. Maybe just try to get closer to the mic and just talk a little lower. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How's that?
I think
Perfect.
good. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So good to be on again.
Okay, very good. All right, Brian and James. Brian, I want to thank you for the introduction to James because we've had some very great conversations and email exchanges. Brian's, his Eco Village is a perfect fit, and I've already been working with customers down in Costa Rica down there that want my systems. And so we've already started that dialogue, which is really good. And so, the fact that I've got an international company and we've got this greenhouse mechanism happening, I had not focused on the dehydrators. And so that was something that James is totally into. And he mentioned containers. And wow, I tell you what, you cannot do in a container. Containers almost like the latest gizmo out that you can do everything in a container. I've met people who have done, cooperative, high-tech, meeting rooms for generals in containers. I've met people who have built stadiums out of containers, built churches or houses out of containers. And now I've got a friend of mine who builds a complete hydroponic system in a container. You plug into a greenhouse. Well, now we've got James and I. On one end of this container, James is going to place his dehydrator. On the other end of this container, I've got my supercritical carbon dioxide extractors that we're putting in. So we're going to have the ability to go in there, and what we can't dehydrate, we're going to be able to use flavor and fragrance extracts. We're going to use fruit extracts, spice extracts. We're going to be able to go through that. Herbal extracts, natural antioxidants, natural food colors, plant and animal lipids. We're going to be able to go crazy with our extraction equipment and also with our extraction of all of our medicine. A high-grade CBD cannabis we can grow. That oil is the oil they're using on Charlotte's Web and a lot of other organizations out there to heal these children of their palsy, not their palsy so much, but their hemorrhaging of their, basically their system shutting down. All the seizures they're having, all of those, body functions are saying, we quit. They use a little bit of that CBD oil on that child and it balances them out. It takes the left and right receptacles of the brain and says, hey, let's produce some endorphins. Let's make this, body happy again. And the body becomes happy and the endorphins kick in just from that CBD oil. I use CBD oil right now and I've used it to heal a finger that I fractured a finger with a skill saw. Literally had my skill saw running, stuck my finger down there, shouldn't have, and I just fractured the end of my finger, cut it right down the middle with a skill saw. Ooh. Right now, that happened about 2 months ago. Using a CBD oil, my finger is completely healed except for the nail. The nail's still growing out. And that's been 2 months, no scar.
You're talking real fast, and I think you're talking to a bunch of experts here. So let's slow it down a bit.
Okay.
Now, explain how the CO2 extracts these flavorings and sort of concentrated hemp oil and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the supercritical CO2 extractor does it through carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, if you buy it, it is really, really cold. Like you can freeze ice cream with it. It's that cold. So they use that structure. And oil, when it's cold, it gets solid. It becomes a solid when it gets really cold. So they go through the plant, and you put the plant process through there. It literally just freezes out naturally without any chemicals. All of the oils, all of the flavors, all the oils, everything that, the nutrients that you want out of the plant, you can literally strip that from the plant, remove it, you capture that as this prized oil, and the rest of the plant we compost. So it's a really big piece of equipment that's totally, I don't want to use the word high tech, but I'm going to, that is set up to do an exact purpose. For everything that goes into it, it takes out the pure, ointment of it at the other end. And that's what you can use for everything that you can imagine that's in our industry that is either flavored or has a smell or a flavor or is a pure ointment you can use in that manner. But also that combined with what Jim has on the dehydration side, because all of your herbs, everything you're cooking with, all your spices, we can have oil on one end. On the other end, we're turning it into a powder or a flake or something that's a dry substance versus an oil substance. all in the same container, we can make that happen. And this is what James and I got so excited about, because I had half the container taken care of. He had the other half, putting it together with greenhouse systems, his eco-villages. I mean, we've got something happening here that is really, really the way it should happen with the whole system that we've been talking about, how we're going to change this world.
Well, I mean, eco-villages need income. So this would be a good income stream for eco-villages.
It absolutely will be, and it's off-grid. And that's one of the neatest things about these systems. We're combining ancient technology, which is very simple, with the brand new technology. As we mentioned, the Tesla battery and so on. It's really going to be something. So we can make any small town, every small town should have at least one partner that has our dehydrator system and Tim's greenhouse system. And I tell you what, that's what I think is going to be the way to go in the future, very near future.
If I may interject, I just want to say wow, and then I want to say, Brian, you know, your skills as a connector just blow me away. I'm a connector, and I have to tell you, Brian, that the people that you have put together, you know, from as a result of this show and just in general with your mission, Brian Porter, you know, hats off, man, hats off.
Oh, you're too sweet, Angela.
And you guys, this is amazing. I mean, what I'm listening to, I'm just like, I want to join in. I'm like, yay, I want to be there. You know what I mean? So that's all I want to say.
Beautiful thing.
Well, you know, I mean, it's funny because I you know, we had this thing going on with James or Jim, and I thought, hey, I mean, Tim would be a good business partner because, you know, we talked about this dehydration system. So no, I think it works really well. I mean, I believe in saving the world naturally. Screw the drug companies. Let's get rid of them. Let's put them in the poorhouse. I mean, all the solutions come back to the fact that we are nature. We are natural beings. All the medicine we need is in the food we eat.
Definitely. You said that so great, Brian, and I've got to tell you, with the help of myself and some people that I work with, I can actually work with an individual, help them rebuild their entire DNA in 1 year. You can rebuild it. And guess what? Your body is going to rebuild it anyway, with my help or without my help. But usually you get into I'll be blunt here, you get into a piss poor condition afterwards because you've been eating all this junk and garbage been stored in the fatty cells of your body. And that's what your body has to rebuild off of. And it's nasty. I mean, it's really, really bad. No wonder that the second leading cause of death among men in the United States right now is colon cancer. I mean, everything you're eating is just, it's cramming, it's getting locked up in that colon and it's not going anywhere. And when you eat all that junk and it all makes that viscous goo and it just goes to death, man, it's taking all your lining of your cell walls with it. And men are getting cancer and they're dying from it. I mean, it's the second leading cause of death of men. And that is completely treatable. It doesn't have to happen. Your food is your medicine. It's been said right, and that's what we are growing. We are growing superfood in the greenhouses, superfood on this farm, super organic. We're going veganic with the growing of it. This superfood that you take, and you can, I'm not going to change the way people eat, but if they want to eat a meat source, large fish farms are the way to do it. A controlled large fish farm. And we can,
tilapia.
Fish is a great protein for people. You put in 1.5 pounds of fish food and you get a 1 pound tilapia. It's the highest concentrate of food to pounds to delivery that we've got with any of our animals. Nothing else. And the tilapia don't use a lot of water because they live in water. So they don't drink a bunch because they're in it. They live in the water. So you can actually use their water for some of our farming procedures for a fertilizer, which is awesome. So it's all a symbiotic relationship. It's beautiful.
That's the essence of permaculture, is taking it all and using it and reusing it. And that can create a sustainable system, truthfully, almost no matter how many people are on Earth. Except for we're so far from that right now that these solutions are critical to the survival of our species.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. So do you guys have this would be are you going to patent this design? This sounds pretty unique to me.
Yes, we are looking into that right now. One of the things that I struggle with is I want to get this out to everybody. At the same time, I'm a businessman and I want to make some money with this thing. So we're looking at all angles. We think our value is in our network. We have an incredible network. And so we might not patent it, but we'll still provide so much value that people will want to be our partners.
And you've got that great wife who's an attorney, so I'm pretty sure she can be of some great assistance for you, Jim.
Absolutely, she can.
Well, I'll tell you guys, when it comes to patents, I've done quite a bit of research on it, and Jim, you and I will have this conversation in depth later, but whenever you have a patent, you've announced to the world, look what I've done, and look, I'm going to post it up there so everybody else can see how I've built this or how I've made this. We can stay below that patent level and do some great things. We can make so many improvements on our products that we have that we'll be about 6 to 8 years ahead of the competition. And if they even come close to us and they decide to, re-engineer or to, take it apart piece by piece, we'll already be to the point where we will be making it better. But it's knowing our customers, delivering a good to them, making sure that we can supply what they need, doing better than good, doing awesome, but it's combining, I'm one person on a team. And as a team grows, and now with our interjection and working with James here on his technology, we put our technologies together and we're working that out. And this is just a new introduction that we just put together. It's not one that we've had for a long time. So we're just now introducing ourselves to these technologies and working with it. In fact, I just today had a chance to send my PowerPoint to James. I just sent it to him and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? And so we're going to be working on that to get at least our story on the same page, because I've had a direction, he's had a direction, and the two of us are meeting now, and it looks like we're going to get something done together.
It's an absolute no-brainer, and I love your philosophy. The mortgage company that I had that did $1.3 billion in volume in 3.5 years, we were so far ahead of everybody on customer service that nobody ever wanted to leave our company. It was a really neat goal, and that's my philosophy, is let's put it out there and let's just, we'll be so far ahead of everybody that it'll be fun. And if somebody copies it and hundreds of people will, that's great.
Yeah, I'm an open source kind of guy. I believe that something like food and water is a basic right, and that patenting that kind of stuff, it's up to you guys. I mean, there's a lot of ways of getting things done on this planet. And to me, the bottom line is we got to make sure people get the basics: decent food, a good source of structured water, a decent place to live. This is why I'm a big proponent of the eco village. I believe that personally that we should all be living in one.
Well, I'm in the process right now of working with some developers, and we've got an eco village that's 11,000 acres in Utah that I'm right in the middle. Yeah, 11,000 acres in Utah that I'm designing right now. And it's a total, live, work, play, eat, sleep, drink, raise your kids, teach your children, go out in the garden, but it's all around farming and gardening. This is not, your mom and dad's type of, or your grandma and grandpa's farm out there in Arizona where you're bending, 12 hours, 18 hours a day, bent over with a big machete cutting off heads of lettuce. This is a new age of farming when it is just an ergonomically correct. Can you use that word in agriculture, ergonomically correct? But that's what this is. It's an ergonomically correct form of agriculture when you're working in the greenhouses and these farms we're putting in. But it's an 11,000 acre project. I'm right in the middle of developing right now. And I didn't get a chance to tell James this because we haven't had that conversation yet. But there's going to be an opportunity for us to do some really big things here in the United States. But that just is small compared to the international work that I've got. We've got some huge contracts. I just got an email today about a huge contract over in Ghana, in Africa, and it's going to be a big one. I mean, we're going to have a team there for many years building out that system. And it's just to the point where now the critical mass is hitting the critical fan, and it's getting spread all over everywhere.
Yeah, I guess people are starting to realize that we might want to start eating our food, eating real food, drinking good water, because, this model of trying to fix everything with medicine and pharmaceuticals and operations. And, the budget here in my province of Ontario, 58% for medical services. It's unsustainable. We're all going to go broke trying to fix all the sick people. Are we still here?
Yes, we're here. James was making a little bit of noise there. I think
he does that.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So, James, were you trying to say something, or was that your phone making noise?
It was. I've been turning on and off my mic as needed, hopefully.
You're just muting. You can just mute on the Skype button. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to diet, I think, most of the time. So, no, it's the combination of the storage and the production of food plus the education and training. And I'm big into education, so that's going to be a piece of our puzzle that really pulls it all together.
Yeah, because you've got the WISE Institute. You're setting it up on your second co-op.
That's correct. The World Institute of Sustainability and Education. That was an acronym I came up with a few years ago, and I've always had a dream of creating a college that teaches permaculture, basically. And so we can refine that to show people how to use these units and have people come to Costa Rica for training.
Do we have to?
Exactly.
Do we really have to? Come on, James. I mean, don't make it enticing.
Pura vida, life is good.
No, James, it's interesting. I just say that I am your guy, and basically, I'm your brother from another mother. So I'm just going to let you know that right now. You don't know how well we're connected, but we are, and we're going to be going places.
I think he does know. I can feel it. I can just feel the connection between you guys. And again, just the amazingness of Brian Porter. And I'm so excited just listening to you guys talk about all this. I'm taking notes. I'm just pumped. It's really amazing.
And Angela, you're going to be our voice that we're going to carry with us in our back pocket. We say, hey, you want to know who we are? Listen to Angela. She's going to explain to you our company.
That sounds like a plan.
It is. Well, hit that smartphone out there.
Any commercials, anything live, Angela's the voice. She's the best voice in radio.
Oh yeah.
No doubt.
Oh man, don't do that. Oh, that just melts me. Don't do that. I'm trying to stay on point here. Don't do that. Oh my goodness. So going back to this, James, we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to have many Skypes and a lot of more emails going back and forth, because to make this happen, it's a big undertaking, and we've got to start at the bottom. There's a whole bunch of work we've got to do. I mean, a lot of work we've got to do. But in going into this, I wanted to kind of move into another area, because one thing, when we talk about the eco resorts and what we can do, there's this whole thing called blue zones. We can actually build these blue zones, and we can hire retired PhD doctors to work for us. Now that's a good concept. The health minister's going to hire a PhD doctor to work for him. But we can set up this, holistic health healing center where the people come I've got to go through this whole process, because I don't want you to judge me on what I'm going to say next, because it's kind of crass. But the people who have the money can come to the health and healing. We can teach them how to live another 10, 15, 20 years. It's interesting, because the people who eat the standard American diet die of the standard American diseases. And all the diseases, there's a whole list of them, but the diseases your friends and relatives and neighbors are dying of. If you are a Seventh-day Adventist, you live about 10 years longer. But you still die of the same American diseases, but you just live longer because you're not consuming all the meat, all that protein. It's leaving the acid ash, so you give your ability to about 10 more years. If you're on the holistic diet that I'm on, with the Hallelujah diet, or with a diet that's, vegan, organic, 85% raw, and you're following the regimen that I follow, I'm basically assuring that I can live another 20 to 25 to 30 years longer than a standard American. And guess how I die? I die of natural causes. I don't wake up one morning. I die naturally. My body just decides to not be alive that day, and I die. I don't die of disease. So I know how I'm going to die, and I know how I'm not going to die. But I just don't know if it's going to be 25, 30, 40, or another 50 years. I don't know, how long it's going to be. But that is the promise that I've got, because the cells in my body, my heart, my lungs, my blood, my tissue, every part of my synapses are firing, my dendrites have stretched, and I'm 55 years old, boys and girls, and I can go whoop a 20-year-old into the ground on the same physical labor as I am for the day. It's like, come on, you want to go? Let's go. Let's make it happen. And I'll jump right in there and drive them right into the dirt, and they're sitting there sweating and huffing and puffing.
Watch out for Jim, Tim, because he's an ex-wrestling champ, collegiate wrestling champ.
Awesome. Yeah, it all depends on how long ago X was. That's the how long ago was the X?
Well, I got up at 5:40 this morning to and go for a run, so I'm feeling okay. But I'm nothing like that. There's no shape like wrestling shape. Of course, I'm biased.
Very good. Very good.
You're both doing something that's good for you. I do yoga. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to stay fit, folks. And yeah, it's it's just a matter of finding one that works for you.
There's a question from the chat room. It is that people are looking for the extractor or whatever that you were talking about back. I think they were talking about the magnetic structural thing. Is there a place where people can go for say a personal water structure moment?
So if they're looking for a water structure moment, yes, that water structure moment, they're going to find that on if they do a Google search on Crystal Blue Enterprises.
Oh, good. Yeah, I put that in the chat. That's crystalblueent.com. Yes?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
crystalblueent.com. Yes, that gives you your structured water, definitely. And if they're looking at something that is supercritical carbon dioxide extractors, they'll just have to do a Google search on that.
All right. Come up with the next break, folks. So hang in there, and we'll be back with I'm Nature in 5 minutes. Welcome back to I Am Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter. I've got Tim Butts here, amazing ecopreneur, developer of many fantastic technologies that are going to help to keep us all living a long life and a healthy life. But before I get back to Tim, I got to put a plug in for Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the most amazing place on the planet to get the news on what's happening politically, economically, and on my show, it's all about how to stay healthy in a world that's become very toxic. So if you want to support this station, there's a number of ways of doing it. One of them is to just go to the site and go to support us and click on that little box there. Or we have seeds, really good seeds, heirloom quality seeds, 3 different packs. You can pick them up. So I'm hoping that everyone will appreciate the fact that we're on the air, that we're doing our bit to try to help this planet. So back to you, Tim. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just great. And Brian, it sounds like you're doing wonderful. And I want to thank Angela for all of her support. I could not do this without her. Boy, I tell you, she really makes the show one that you want to do every single day with her supporting you.
Well, I mean, I don't know what angel came over me and brought me Angela, but no, my first 3 shows were pretty rough without Angela, but she came along and now it's been amazing. I've had great guests on. She's learning, I'm learning, so it's everyone is just pumped, I think, when they listen to my show, and I'm glad that that's happening. Everyone's growing, along with the good plants.
Excellent.
Very nice.
I just had a quick question regarding the CBD oil from chat. I wanted to say hello to Simply Red 777, who is in chat. Very, very on our level, enjoying the energy of the show, etc. And she was the individual who had asked. I thought it was about the water structure moment, but also she was very interested in the CBD extractor because, as we know, CBD oil can be very pricey. Now, is there some, quick fix-all solution for people interested in CBD oil, or please enlighten us, Tim?
These systems are pricey, and when you look at the cost of the systems, most of them are large commercial. The system is built with very high quality, high pressure parts, so it's not something you can build in your garage and call it good. There's other systems that do that. They use butane or propane or some kind of a tane to extract the oil, and they're not as safe and pure as the CO2 extraction is. A good Google search will send you out there so you can find it. Smaller systems that are CO2 extractors, but still, they're going to start in a price range of $25,000 to $30,000, and easily you could spend $140,000, $150,000 for one of these pieces of equipment. That's why we're using them commercially, because we can literally pay for a piece of equipment that costs $150,000 in a matter of 7 to 10 days if we can put enough volume of product through it. You have to use it a lot. It's not just something that you're going to sit someplace in your living room or in your garage or on your farm and use once in a while. You've got to make sure you're using it all the time, or you're not going to get your money out of it.
Yeah, so it's more commercial in its orientation, its price line range.
Yes, it is. And if individuals would like to, they can go together and form a co-op, and they could purchase the CO2 extractor through a co-op, and then they could all share it, and then collectively they'd have enough product to put into the machine to be able to get the product out that they're looking for.
Yeah, because in Colorado you can grow cannabis legally right now. Are there any other states where you can? Washington, Colorado?
Oregon. And there's about 16 other states that are going on the ballot this year. So we're going to have a lot more states. It's going to be legalized. But in that process of doing that, I'll just jump into it because we're there. But whenever you're smoking a cannabis stick, you've got around 1,000 or more chemicals that you're sucking into your body that aren't good for you. And so that just rolled up in that paper and smoking is not the way to do it. But you can extract the oil out of it, use it through a pen, vaporize it. It's complete different medication that you're doing, but it's good for your body. That's what your body can, needs, and your body can use to handle just a whole page full of sicknesses and ailments. That's the ease you need. That's the medication you need to help you in a vaporizing form, not in, even when you're eating it, you're not getting it because the digestive juices of your stomach are breaking it down and it's not going through your cell structure like you need. You need to be able to get it through the subliminal. You need to get it under your tongue. That's where I take the CBD oils under my tongue now, and it takes care of all pain. For me, if I ever, pull a muscle or strain or get a hurt, the CBD oil works out perfectly. I buy it, and you're right, it's about $80 an ounce. For the CBD oil. It's a little pricey, but I've been using that same ounce for months now, because I don't have chronic pain, but I use it when I need it. And though the other oil that I use is a topical, it's a CBD emu oil, and the emu allows it with a higher penetration. And it comes from Brown's Botanical, which is out of New Jersey, and an excellent firm. I had my CBD oil tested, and they said it was high potency, but I actually had it tested by a lab, and it was higher potency than they said. So they sold me a better product than they charged me for. That doesn't always happen, but I was thankful because I've got an excellent product.
Wow. Great suggestions, Jim. Now we were going to talk a bit about your family, and you've got this amazing daughter. You wanted to share the story about her life and how you helped her recover.
Well, I just will take a serious note here and kind of bring it down to home. And I know all of us have family, and all of us, out there have not had perfect families, and we've had life and death in our families, and usually it's of those who are aged or accidents happen. But it was interesting to say that I don't know why I was placed in this position, and you don't understand why, but I went through a portion of my life that I would not wish on my worst enemy, because I don't know who you've got to be or what you have to go through to be strong enough to be able to have this trial hit you right in the face and still be able to go on. But when you go through this fire, you realize as the phoenix, as you are burned to the ground out of the pure ashes, as you're sitting there, and you realize that you have to be burned and put into those ashes so you can be recreated to a vessel that can be used. And I didn't know it was going to take this, what I'm going to go through right now and tell you, to put me in that position to where I am now to take on the goals of what I need to do. Because, earlier, basically talking to Brian, he hit on something that was so key. He talked about the fact that what we're building here is the ark. We're saving the planet one system at a time. So to take that type of dedication and to take that type of a ministry, not just being a health minister, but turn around and being a ministry of now creating an ark for this world to heal the world's problems, to heal the world's food crisis, to do that one system at a time, to heal people with food. I mean, that is part of the creation in growing this incredible food, but instructing us in the right manners and in the right procedures to partake of that food, that medicine that is alive, that goes into our bodies with those live enzymes, and it feeds our cells. And now it's just vibrating through us, and our minds are strong, our bodies are strong. We can reproduce strong children. And this is where I'm going with this. When I was 16 years old, I had a major problem. Didn't realize it, but I had the measles, and I was up in the mountains, and I was camping with my family. I had the measles, and I had a high temperature for 3 or 4 days. And when I was done with that high temperature, I didn't realize, but it changed me permanently after I had that high temperature. And basically, I learned it when my wife and I decided to have children. Found out that my sperm weren't very fast swimmers. In fact, they were slow pokes. And there's nothing we really could do to speed them up. So the motility was drastic, but I had a lot of sperm, but they just weren't swimming very fast. So because of that high fever I had when I was 16 years old, it just basically, it did a number on me. And physically, I was, top of my game, could do anything physically, but I just wasn't producing a certain speed. So we went through a fertility clinic. My wife was on the same diet at the same time that same vegan, organic, 85% raw diet, eating everything healthy you can imagine, just running, hiking, cycling, doing everything that we could imagine, physically fit, just tearing life up, having fun. Went to this fertility clinic, and basically they did 4 embryos implanted in her. They said at best, we could get 2, probably only 1. All 4 children tuck. We ended up having quads.
Wow.
So my wife, yeah, exactly. With a healthy body, they didn't realize that you're going to have a quad. So we did. The medical system that we were in had never delivered quads, and they still haven't delivered quads because we weren't successful. So in that process of not being successful, though, I tried the best I could to get to a hospital in Arizona that actually specializes in quad or greater births. And they have a very, very high birth rate of quads. My wife got a certain sickness. She got a bacteria that you only get in the hospital. And because she got that bacteria, my children were born at 25 weeks. Well, 25 weeks is not anything close to being term. 25 weeks. It was terrible. And in 1 week, I lost 3 children. And I'm not going to go into detail because that's not what the story is about, but I lost 3 children in 1 week, all at different times. And it was a week later that I had a funeral for 3 children, and we buried them. And it was crazy. But I had one daughter who at 25 weeks, she was 1 pound, 8 ounces. She was slightly more than a foot long, 1 pound, 8 ounces. Her name is Carice. Her lungs were very underdeveloped. She was on a ventilator respirator to help her breathe. The ventilator was damaging her fragile lung tissue, but is necessary to keep her alive. So you can imagine the lungs are so fragile that they have to have air put in the lungs to help them breathe, but the actual air is tearing apart the lungs at the same time. So, you're in a position of trying to save life with the only antiquated equipment you have is blowing air into some lungs that are so precious and so formy that you're tearing them apart, but that's how she was living. So basically, on this day and time that I'm going to refer to right here, the doctors just informed us that my daughter has an infection in her lungs. The culture of her lungs identified as a specific bacteria called Pseudomonas. It is a common bacteria for patients using a ventilator. The doctors adjusted Carice's antibiotics to include 2 that are specific. Boy, I'm having a hard time with that word. That are specially intended to fight against the Pseudomonas bacteria. Carice's lungs are still so fragile that it's very scary to watch her battle against the pneumonia. She got pneumonia you only get in the hospital. You only get this hospital pneumonia when you are intubated. And basically she's in a NICU, neonatal intensive care unit that she's in. So, for the past few days, she has been recuperating from her procedure. She has not been stable. Her vital signs have been fluctuating a lot. And at times, she has been very restless and agitated. This afternoon, the doctors determined that she is fighting an infection. It is difficult to diagnose because the symptoms in preemies are very non-specific and can be confused with normal difficulties that preemies often have. Some of Carice's symptoms include breathing problems, low blood pressure, anemia, abnormal blood cell counts, jaundice, and feeding problems, milk not digesting. The doctors have started Carice on a series of broad-spectrum antibiotics, and culture of her lungs was taken to identify the specific bacteria that was attacking her there. That bacteria attacked her, got into her stomach, and literally rotted out a section of her stomach. She had to have stomach surgery and remove part of her intestine. But it was at a perfect place because that part of your intestine grows much longer anyway, and so it didn't affect it. She had heart surgery when she was first born because the valve in her heart didn't shut, so they had to manually go through the back of her neck and do a heart surgery there. They told me that she was going to be blind, she was going to be asthmatic, and she was going to be mentally retarded. They said, that's the best we can hope for your daughter being born at 25 weeks. Right now, she is 9 years old. She's going into 4th grade. She's tearing up life. She's at the top of her class. She can run faster and stronger than I can. She doesn't even catch a breath. She is witty. She is strong. She wears glasses only when she's doing her schoolwork because her eyes are still adjusting and she still needs a little bit of help only when she's doing her schoolwork and when she uses her glasses. But she doesn't need glasses for anything else. The girl is strong. She is healthy. She is vibrant. She is just, more fun than you ever wanted to be with. She has, when she left the hospital, She was her $2 million baby. And this was 1986. Excuse me, 1996. 1996, she was, their $2 million baby at that time.
How long was she in, Tim? How long was she in before you brought her?
She was in the hospital for 5 months. And so thank you for asking me that, because that segues to the next point.
Hold on a minute. I'm just 2006, correct? She's 9?
Yeah, 2006. Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you for correcting me.
No problem. I was like, well, wait a minute. Is she 39? Is she 29? Is she 19?
No.
Okay, great. So okay.
2006. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yes, yeah. I get in the middle of this, and
no
I'm
worries.
thinking about.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, she's in the hospital for over 5 months. So what I just read to you was daily what we went through every single day for 5 months. It was something of this nature. Finally, it's time to take her home. We took her home on a ventilator. No, not a ventilator, because you're intubated. It's a tube down your lungs. We took her home on oxygen and a heart monitor. And for the first 2 years of her life, she was quarantined. She could not leave the house or our property. She couldn't be around anybody for 2 years. Her immune system was so low in her body that it just wouldn't fight out disease. So we kept her home, and I went through the entire house and cleaned this thing top to bottom. Got rid of everything that was toxic. Anything that I could not drink, we did not clean with it. We did not have it open. It was not in this house. We did everything we could to minimize her existence of any type of pain or anything hurting her. For 2 years that she was home, those first 2 years, I didn't sleep one night straight through, because I slept, when I heard that alarm go off, I was the first one up. I jumped and ran in there and took care of her because my wife was exhausted. It took her a while to recuperate. So I was the caretaker at night, and so I would not sleep much in those first 2 years. But I learned how to do that, and how to, because my body was so healthy, I learned how to exist on less sleep because I needed to. It was time to make it happen. I got her through those 2 years. She was on a shot every 3 months of $3,500 to help her with her immune system, because if she got a disease, she could not fight it off. We would have lost her because she didn't have an immune system that was strong enough. So in this process of us working with her, I learned a lot about a body and a person as they're growing and getting strong. But I did not realize, through all of it that we're going through, that if you're deficient in calcium in your body and you're growing and you don't have enough calcium, the calcium will go to your bones first and not to your teeth. So we took her to her, 5 years old, let's take her to the dentist and have her mouth looked out. And the dentist looked at it and said, oh my God, her mouth is falling apart. What have you guys done? Her teeth, her calcium, it's terrible. And we went through the whole history with the doctor and said, well, because you're preemie, all the calcium went to her legs and her bones and her shoulders, her necks and her head. And she has no calcium for her teeth. You got to get calcium in her. And so that gave me just a free range right there, that I turned my daughter's diet into one of high calcium, that she's drinking her calcium, raw calcium, through her kale, through her almonds that she's eating, raw almond juice that she was drinking, her kale and her spinach and her beets. I got on a super great diet. In 1 year, I turned her teeth around, the calcium in her mouth. So 1 year later, we went back to the dentist, and the dentist could not believe they were looking in the same mouth. That was because of her liquid calcium diet. And that's what health can do for you. It can change the complete makeup of your body in the critical stages of when you need to input it. You can build that new tissue, that new bone, that new muscle, that new calcium being implemented to grow what it needs to make you strong. But it strengthened her whole body. The girl is growing. She's almost, she's 4'4", 4'5" right now, 9 years old. And she's growing really strong and tall, but she just plays hard, and she just has fun playing harder and harder. And she's got we live out on this ranch. It's open. We got beautiful trees around us. She's got fresh air. She's got an awesome dog that she runs all the time. The girl's having the time of her life, and she was supposed to be retarded, blind, deaf. Just asthmatic, be a vegetable. Basically that's what we were looking at.
It's such an incredible story of incredible perseverance on your and your wife's behalf. To lose 3 kids and then just work so hard to save that last one. It's just unbelievable.
That process.
Kudos to you and your wife. But what it did is it put that challenge in front of you, and then through the great challenge, you learned a hell of a lot about nutrition, which is the key to everything.
Oh my God. When we would go, and we had this awesome doctor in the neonatal intensive care, wonderful doctor. And she would come in and she would, my last name is Butts. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Butts, how are you doing?" And I'd say, "I'm doing just great." And she said, "I've had to tell my husband about you." And I said, "Really?" And I'm thinking, okay, my wife's standing here, what's happening next? And she goes, "Well, I had to tell my husband about you because you're the reason I'm late every night." And I said, "I am?" And she goes, "Yes, our conversations don't last anything under 2 hours." And I said, "Well, yeah, they're 2 to 3 hours." And she said, "I usually get off work about an hour into our conversation, but because your information is so good and you have so many questions, I stay and spend this time with you." And I said, "Well, thank you, doctor." And I said, "I appreciate you telling me, but your husband's just going to have to wait until my daughter gets out of the hospital because I'm not going to, be standing here and be that parent that just says, 'Yes, doctor.' I questioned every single thing that they did and asked them every option that they could do and every drug they could do differently, because when I wasn't at the hospital, I was online Googling all the doctor words and all the pharmaceutical words so I understand what they were talking about and all the alternatives that they could use and finding out what is the next step and what they could do and then what they would do. I mean, my daughter came within 1 week of being blind. That's how the treatments are so crazy technical that within 1 week she would have been blind. But we went through the right process through, our questions and answering and having them make the right decisions, because I hate to say this, but they are just practicing, even though they've been there a long time, they're just practicing that hospital system. It's a large one in Northern California, a huge HMO. They've never successfully delivered quads. And the reason is they don't have the technology to do it. So they're still practicing. And so I had to become a doctor myself, literally, on that subject of preemies and neonatal intensive care, while I was there to help the doctors make the right decisions.
Amazing. Absolutely. It's just a beautiful story. And as I said earlier, I said you've gone from saving your daughter to now saving the planet. It's just a beautiful life you've had, man.
Well, that part of it, Brian, goes back to the fact that, I could not have done it without the help of my God. I mean, I've been a Christian through all of this, and I went to church, and I went to my pastor just shortly after all this I was going through all this, and said, "Man, I'm beat up. I've been to hell. I have walked through hell. I have sent out all of my soldiers in my army, and they've all died. It's only me, and I'm walking through hell. Why would God do this to me?" And he talked to me. He said, "You know what, Tim?" He said, "God didn't do it to you." And he explained to me, the reasons why things like this happen to good people. That, there's positive in the universe and there's negative. And all of us get affected by it. And it just happened. It's life and it's death. And I'm making it real simple because that's a whole other story. But I'm just telling you, he helped me get through a tough part of my life, helped me refocus myself to the point where about 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, I was working in an office, and one of my friends sent me over a business plan for a greenhouse. And I'm looking at this greenhouse going, what could you do with a greenhouse? This is interesting. It was a business plan, and I got a business degree, and so I was looking through it for, all the reasons why you look at a business plan. And I realized, this business plan sucks. It's not going to work. These guys don't even know what they're doing. And so I looked through it and I called the resources and stuff. One thing they told me, they said, if you call any one of our resources, we're not going to be working with you and we're not going to pay you your fee and all this stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a big red flag. And the first thing I did was started calling the resources. I don't care if I get paid. I want to see if this works. So I called all the resources, found out that no, they didn't know what they're doing and it was not going to work, but it got me interested in it. So I started down that road. And as I started down that road through classes and seminars and classes across this nation I've been to, then as an international consultant working with people, and through the health ministry opening doors, and now building a team of international builders who are building greenhouse systems on farms all over the world, that how we're connected and giving each other support and putting together now the systems with these big commercial clients we've got and individuals that we're working with to now help the world. I mean, it's been a process but it started, with my interest. I could not be that guy who's doing this if I had not went through the hell that I went through to get to where I am right now, because there wouldn't be an appreciation for life more so than anything else. I mean, I look at life and realize that if you want to be close to nature, then you have a diet that doesn't offend nature. And you're going, my diet doesn't offend nature. I don't do anything that offends nature. I have been in the middle of a beehive. I've had thousands and thousands of bees around me, and all I was wearing was a pair of cutoffs and flip-flops. And I was putting water into their watering area for the beehives that I had on my property. I was not a threat to those bees. They just swarmed around me until all I could hear was a beehive around me, and they not penetrated me one time because I was not a threat. They looked at me as a benefactor to them. When I go into the wild and I go into the woods, I connect to it in such a way because I am not the hunter. I am not the enemy in the forest. I'm looked as a benefactor, one with them. And because I do not have the chemicals in my body, because my body is pure, this temple that I have is pure, and it is filled with love and joy and happiness and health. And because it is filled with all of that, I have a closer communion with my God because I don't have to go through all of the fiber. I don't have to go through all of the fibrous junk. I don't have to go through all of the candy and the sugar and all the highs and the lows and the coffees and all the chemicals that start in the fatty tissues of your body. And I've only got 15% body fat, so I couldn't store very much. And so, it's tough. I mean, if we have a serious big famine and I can't get to one of my greenhouses where I can eat, I'm not going to last very long, guys and girls, because I don't have a lot of body fat. And basically, God has made me lean, mean, and a green machine to grow all those vegetables that we're doing because it's the appreciation, it's the fast energy you get when you can have that fruit and those vegetables. You can have that. But in that process of not clouding your mind, to be able to have the vision and to work with people and to help people when they are sick, a big portion of people's sickness comes from their minds. In your mind, in your head, you think it. And stress is terrible. When you are under stress, your immune system can shut down. So you can be stressed out and your immune system can shut down for 5, 6, 10, 12 hours. If you have a teaspoon of sugar, your immune system shuts down for 6 hours. So now your immune system is shut down. Every disease or any type of something that's floating through the air or something you touch can affect your body. And when you are stressed out, your body is thinking that there's a sickness on it. And so your body is now saying, okay, if we got stress, we need to make sure that the heart's working. We got to make sure that the blood's pumping, but the mind we can shut off because we don't need the mind right now. We just got to, survive. And so people can really have anxiety problems because of their stress. And large part of that stress is totally related to their diet. How those chemicals are stored in the fatty cells of their body. When they have a craving, it is real. When you have that smell, it is real. You smell it, your body reacts to it. It goes back to that craving, to that chemical that's stored in your body, and it now starts pulling from that. As your body starts losing that chemical, it will replenish it. So you are crammed with the chips and with the candy and with all of the bad food that would come into your body to help replenish those strongholds you have of those chemicals that keep you under the bondage that this world would love for you to be in. Strictly bondage.
That's it. Food is made to be addictive, and it does a lot of damage on many levels. Okay, I think we're coming up to another break, Tim, so we'll be back, folks, in a few minutes for our last half hour with the most amazing guy I've ever met, Tim Butts. Welcome back to I'm Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter, and I have Tim Butts on as my guest this week. Amazing ecopreneur, a guy whose lifetime goal now, I think, is to re-nourish, re-nutritionize, there's a new word for us, revitalize the human species on this planet. Would you say that's a fair assessment of what you're trying to do, Tim?
Well, I think that's very good, Brian, but I always get a kick out of whenever you say ecopreneur because it sounds like you're saying an eco-printer.
That's what I thought he was saying. I was like, really? Is he eco-printing? He's got to meet Mike Adams, blah, blah, blah. Which you should anyway. You and Mike should probably meet at some point. Mike Adams, a health ranger from naturalnews.com. You guys are two peas in a pod for sure.
Well, very good. It'd be nice for us to have a little dialogue so we could go back and forth, and we get Angela in the middle, and Brian, you could referee this thing. That'd be a pretty cool show.
Fun.
So, Tim, you haven't really talked much about your amazing greenhouse design. You call it, let's see, Timponic Vertical Integrated Greenhouse Farming System.
Right,
Maybe
exactly.
We can get that.
Right. I just basically, if they want to, those people that I'm working with here and those people on your show and those people who are, listening to this wherever they're at, they can go to a pretty cool website that I basically have the opportunity to be working with. And this website is a New Earth Institute. And they can go on, if they click on the New Earth Institute, it's newearth.institute/faculty-members/Tim-Butts/ yeah, it's a lot. But anyway, they can find me on the website. If you look under you go to New Earth Institute, Google that up, go into the learning portal. You can go into the faculties, and you can go over to science technology and go on the team members. And I got a full bio there that you can read. So I'm not going to go into the bio, but I want to get into the greenhouses right now. And I want to tell you about these greenhouses.
Tim, would you be able to share your email address with people? Would that be okay?
Sure. They can email me at a new email address I just picked up the other day. But the email address is my name, TIM, and then it's BUTTS 2015 at gmail.com. So again, that's TimButts2015 at gmail.com.
Yeah, that might be an easier way of finding you because that's a long web address.
Right. Yeah. And I can send them a link to that web address and they can find more from there if they have questions or if they'd like to know more about it. What's interesting is we are always expanding and we're working on our greenhouse team. And certain clients or customers we're working with, and earlier I didn't get a chance to say, but I'm a workforce development trainer. And therefore we train a lot of people. And part of that big job that we're going to be doing there in Utah, that big job, we're going to be working with a large Indian tribe. And that large Indian tribe that we're going to be working with, we're going to be working with about 9,000 of their veterans that are unemployed. And we're giving them jobs.
Wow.
And so training them and giving them jobs is what this is, a huge part about this is the green workforce that we're training people to go into this agriculture, because in this intense agriculture, when we have a growing system that we have a vertical system. We have these 8-foot towers that I designed that we can grow leafy greens in. We can grow up to 80 to 100 times more per acre than the best Central Valley crop. But it's planted by hand and picked by hand. So because we grow such intense agriculture, in about 2 square foot, I can put 108 heads of lettuce in 2 square feet. So that's crazy that we can do within this tower. And this is all under natural sunlight. This is not what we're doing for the indoor grows on the horizontal growing that we're doing under LED lights. This is under sunlight in a greenhouse grown. Those towers have to be hand planted, hand propagated, and hand seeded. So actually we use a machine for seeding, but it has to be still propagated and planted into the tower and harvested out of the tower. We can do this aquaponically, we can do it hydroponically, we can do it aeroponically, or we can do it in soil. I can fill these towers full of soil, and we put soil crops in there, and we can work through it. But the greenhouses, I got this one really awesome design that is 20,000 square feet. It's called a biodome. In this biodome, the ceiling's 38 foot tall. It's 100 feet wide, and it's 200 feet long. It's 100 feet wide because your evaporative cooling only works for 100 feet. So that's the width of it. So for 200 feet of it, I've got evaporative cooling on my north wall, basically, that's on there. And it's not really my north wall. It's the wall that's a little bit southeast wall is where I've got it. Or I've got it on the wall that's more east, south facing, but I've got it on one of the walls. It's on the 100-foot. I'm going a little through this little design in my head right now, and I'm trying to figure out which wall I want to put the evaporative cooling on. But anyway, through that process of this greenhouse, 20,000 square feet, we use a special system, a concrete floor system, that gives us a geothermal effect so we can heat and cool the greenhouse using the floor by certain temperatures. And so by using the floor through the stack effect, which is the height of the building naturally pulling up the low pressure air through the top of the building as it heats up and it goes out to the top, it allows cooling. We bring in cool air from the bottom that naturally, through a free source of just using the stack effect, we can cool the greenhouse off, and then we turn the evaporative cooling on. It allows some moisture in the air, and with the stack effect, we get a real cooling for our more hotter climates. Now, if we are if we're north of the equator, we need warming. The ground is 58 degrees. We can use that warm 58 degrees when it is 22 degrees outside. We can use that warm 58 degrees in that concrete geothermal slab that we have, and we can use that to help keep the greenhouse warm. We can easily even take that air and we can push that down inside the slab and heat the slab up with the warm air that's above, bring it down and put it into the slab to help us with our heating and cooling. But in that greenhouse, we've got the ability to do large aquaponic systems, which not many people have done, but we have the ability to do that but we specialize it to certain crops. But we can use hydroponically. We use not as much because it is a system that is mostly chemicals and it's not organic. Aeroponically, we can use combined with our aquaponics, but we're really into the soil because we've been growing some great soil, and we've got this system set up right now that we are growing our fish and using the effluent from the fish to go to the vermiculture for the worms, and the worms get done with it. We do our organic composting with it. We put a little bit of other, additives, some amendments to the soil we're growing, and we get some beautiful, called black gold soil that we've got that the plants just thrive when we're growing in this. We're using systems that we are not flood irrigating the areas. In the field crops we're using, we're not flood irrigating because we build in complete farms. We come in, we put the greenhouses in. That's our year-round, 365 days out of the year. Let's grow it. Let's have, strawberries in December that are fresh strawberries, big, plump, juicy, just, hit you in the face and, slap you upside the head. Strawberries that are so good that are all the sugar in it that you can imagine in December that are local. So the whole local side of this is the crazy part that thinks, look at your food footprint. Where is your food coming from? Are you getting bananas from South America or from India? Or, is that where your bananas are coming from? We have the ability to grow these fruits and vegetables in a greenhouse all year long, right here, right in your backyard, in your city, in your suburb, on a rooftop. And there are people who are doing that. On the scale we're talking about with these big biodomes, the biodome is the center focal point for the whole facility. And on this 11,000 acres, we'll probably put in about 5 or 6 or 10 of these biodomes in a certain structure that we will set them up. And then we will have all the utility greenhouses that we're growing all the other crops in off to the sides. One of the main things you want to do in greenhouse growing is you don't want to put too large of a crop inside of a greenhouse because you're integrated pest management. If a pest gets in there and they like your plant and they like your humidity, they could have a real nice run of it. So you like to have certain, not huge areas. 20,000 square foot is about the largest area we want to keep under one greenhouse because of our controls that we're working with. But through this process of doing that, I'm working with scientists who are doing experiments on the International Space Station, and they've got some really good DNA. And this is interesting. I just want to point out, anything that's genetically modified will kill you. There are genetically modified, crops that they're doing right now, feeding to field animals, to, hogs and to horses and to different field animals, trying to get their weight up. And when they cut them open and look at their insides of a hog that's been fed on this, genetically modified GMO seed and grain for about 3 or 4 or 5 years, their insides are hemorrhaged and bleeding and scarred, and just this animal is in so much pain. The same age of a hog in the same study, they cut it open, look at it, because they're going to slaughter the hog because it's time for it to die, because they're going to eat the pork. And it is beautiful pink meat inside. No lesions, no bleeding, no structures that's hemorrhaging, because it was fed a regular diet that's non-GMO. That genetically modified organisms that you're taking in with your body do not build good DNA. They destroy your DNA. The scientists I'm working with on International Space Station are taking the strongest plants, the best plants that have the strongest DNA. Therefore, they're taking those, bringing them back, and those are some of the plants that were able to propagate that DNA, using it in its pure form of that plant to help us grow better plants. So we're doing that through a process of this material we've got called, it's just basically a nutrient, BAM, B-A-M, and it's a bioavailability mineral that we have that we use for plants, and it allows us to open up more nutrition to the plants. It's not an amendment at all, but what it allows us is to put our fertilizers into that liquid, and we give it to the plant to a foliar spray, and therefore the plant can uptake more nutrient because we help unlock some of the keys or the doors or some of the areas that the plant, this tomato, stays open a little longer. So it allows us a little more access so we can give the plant more of this energy through this liquid that we're doing. But it is combined back with the fact that, the birds are chirping. The birds are chirping about 400 megahertz. That's their chirp sound. We have systems we use that helps us resonate that frequency within the greenhouse. And we, first thing in the morning, we do that when the sun hits the greenhouse, all the plants lift up their leaves, and we put on our vibration. And our vibration sends out that certain vibrating tone that goes to the greenhouse, and the plants leave their stomata open longer, and we can foliar feed them.
Is that the 432? The 432 megahertz? Or, I'm sorry, hertz?
It's right around 432, 400, 432. Yes.
Yes, I think that's the one. It's very interesting. I've been talking with a good friend of mine who's looking to harmonize certain food items in his house with et cetera. It's just very interesting that you're bringing this up right now. It's kind of blown me away. So wow.
Yeah, that is interesting. So it's not birds, but it's a similar sound to what a bird would make.
Right. It's the harmonic convergence of the sounds coming together, but it's that vibration that it's a tone. Our ears most of the time don't pick it up. It's that sound. But see, I live out in the woods, and every morning, a half hour before the sun actually hits the plants around me, the birds take off. And it's beautiful. I hear the birds, just a beautiful orchestra of birds out where I live, and I can tell the sun's about ready to rise, and it tells me it's time to get up. And that happens no matter what time of the year. If you have a short day or a long day, winter, summer solstice, doesn't matter. The birds know a half hour before the sun's going to come up. So you take that type of a balance, and you put that frequency in the greenhouse, and we can do that a couple times a day. And we can foliar feed the plants other times a day. But people don't realize when that plant, this tomato opens up on the leaves, it's a little pores on the back of the leaves that opens up. When it opens up on that plant, it actually can take in some CO2. It gives off some oxygen. It also gives off some CO2 if it has excess. It can take in some water if you're foliar feeding it, but it'll give off some water at the same time. The plant will perspire. And so when it perspires in the greenhouse, we use atmospheric water equipment in the greenhouse. We collect all the water the plants give off. In our greenhouse growing systems, we can grow from 70 to 90% less water we can use than field crops. 70 to 90, it's huge. When we look at the drought we're in California right now, the fact that they're shutting down and they're asking the farmers to produce 35% less crops because they don't have the water and to do all these water saving methods, they're still flood feeding the farms, flood irrigating the farms. We use sub irrigation in all of our open growing in the fields. Sub irrigation. We have lines that go right down to the root ball, and we don't do any water on top of the surface. So no water evaporates. So that's the process of our system. But inside the greenhouse, any water that transpires from the plants, we collect that water, put it back into the greenhouse system. In our greenhouses, literally, all the water that goes from the greenhouse goes out in the plants. When you have a head of lettuce, most of that's water. When you have your spinach, your lettuce, your arugula, or anything you're working with, your strawberries, all of that is water that's coming out.
Just like we are. We're mostly water.
Exactly. But that's what's coming out in the plants, and that's with our nutrients, what we put into our plants. But we check the Brix levels, the sugar levels constantly. We're always checking those levels. We're checking the cleanliness of these greenhouses. You go into this greenhouse, and it's cleaner than a hospital. I know I spent 5.5 months in the NICU with my daughter. Our greenhouses are cleaner than that hospital because you don't get, Pseudomonas bacteria in my greenhouse. You're not going to get a disease in there, but you go through and you change your clothes completely before you go in the greenhouse. We don't let any backyard gardeners go in the greenhouse. We have critical food security in there to make sure, and we track every seed through it's harvested to the plant so we can make sure if it goes to market and if anybody has an issue with it, they can track it back to exactly who planted it, who serviced it, who boxed it, who bagged it, who trucked it, drove it to the market and got it out, to our customers.
Wow.
Well, how do you do that, Tim? That sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It's not a lot of paperwork. It's just a process that we set up in the beginning. If you set your business up in the beginning to work through these procedures, and then you have a lot of people helping you. I can't say that I've done this on myself. I've got some great consultants that I've worked with that they specialize in these fields. And I go to them and I ask them, what do we need to do? And they tell me what to do. And then because I've been through this whole health ministry for the last 15 years. I understand the cleanliness, and I've had to go through the process myself, personally. And so to make sure that greenhouse is so super clean, these are concrete floors, that everything is cleaned, and it is, you change your clothes, you're wearing a hairnet, you're in there working with gloves, your hands aren't touching it, you process everything, it goes into cold storage, we triple wash everything, it goes out, this is organic, there's no chemicals, everything is a chemical, but we don't use inorganic chemicals. We're using organic chemicals in the process of the process we're working with. Our water that we wash the vegetables with, it gets reused. We reuse that and it goes back into the plant stream. So, everything that we do, we filter and reuse everything through the water system, through our structured water, through our filtering systems, and basically through our atmospheric system. Our atmospheric system cleans the air too. It cleans the air and it produces water. And it does it at a very low energy cost, which is incredible. My partner who's got that system, I just talked to him last night. He's so excited because this unit is it is really stellar. Low energy, making lots of water, and it cleans all the air. It takes out all of the pollution in the air at the same time. So we're putting clean air for all our workers to breathe. And with these greenhouses, because they're so tight, it allows us to go with high CO2 levels when we want to make sure our plants are getting all the nutrition they need for the CO2. We're giving them maximum light in this biodome because it's a big structure, really large, covered with a phenomenal coating that lasts over 30 years. Our greenhouse coating is over a 30-year covering on it. It allows maximum light to come through with an infrared filter to it that takes out all the harmful rays, but it allows that maximum light to penetrate in that greenhouse. And we introduce 12 to 1400 parts per million for the CO2 that's in the air, for the carbon dioxide, and those plants just thrive. We make it a really nutrient-rich, temperature-perfect for those plants with the right humidity at the same time so we can maximize all of our grow and get maximum crop yields.
Tim, I'm just, so do you have some of these large biodomes going now?
Well, that's an excellent question. We've been building small greenhouses. This large biodome has not been built. This is my design. I've given you my design and what we're building, and this is the funding that we're getting right now to build these systems, but they have not been built. I'm the one who's got the plans for it, and I've got the instructions, and I've got the system on how to do it.
Because you said you're going to put, you want to put some on this Indian or this native reservation in Utah.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, we're
now. Where are they going to get funding? Are they getting funding to do this, or how are you going to get the seed funding? I understand it's probably going to support itself through the production of food, but how are you going to get it started practically, financially?
I've got partners that are taking care of that.
Oh, really?
Yes, exactly. I've got partners.
So you've got investors.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're already in place and they're already putting it together.
And you're working with the native people that
yes.
live.
Yes.
And they love it. They love this idea.
Oh, yes, because it's all about making jobs for them, local jobs, healthy jobs. I mean, this is just crazy good what they're going to be able to do. Everything we're going to do from the extractions that we're going to do, the dehydration, the extractions, it's totally about everything we can grow and turn it into a money-making society. Everything there is all about how much money you can make off of what you can touch and grow. And what market can you get it to? So we can sustain a beautiful lifestyle and bring people back to a community where they would leave and go out and have a worse life. We're bringing them in to have a holistic, healthy life that they can live and be strong and be a part of a community.
And you're going to be able to employ 9,000 people on this project?
Building the project, we'll have at least 9,000. But yes, I mean, with that project, 11,000 acres, there's a good chance that we could put 9,000 of those, and they're saying there's a total of 9,000 of the Indians that are veterans that are unemployed. So maybe not all 9,000 are going to be part of this project. I'm not saying that we're going to give everyone a job, but the ones that want to and want to buy homes there on this property and be a part of it, we will make sure they get a job because they're going to be able to pay for their home off of the income of the property. Wow.
Sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, we're getting near the end of the show here, Tim. I'm sorry to say that, we're going to have to wrap things up, but I got to get you back on in the near future because there's a lot of questions I had for you that we didn't have a chance to get to. But man, I'm really excited. There's a guy named Jay Sable. Do you know Jay Sable?
I don't, and you're going to have to introduce me to him.
Yeah, he was one of my previous guests. He's kind of making the wiki of sustainability. He's got this site called One Community. I'll send it to you. I think there's another synergy that could be created there because he wants to create a huge self-sustaining eco-village that's going to teach the whole planet how to live properly.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think you'd love this guy. Well, I'll try to hook you up with him. And it sounds like, did I hear some?
Yes, we're at the end.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks a million, Angela. And Tim,
thank you, Angela. Appreciate it.
You. You're the best. All my love to you and your family.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I really, really enjoyed having you on. We'll have to just continue the discussion offline in future shows.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good one, guys. Remember, food is your medicine.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leave the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio Studio B.